The reason why I'm doing this interview is I wanted to share a snapshot of the present self of who I am with you. I think it's really important that we can continue to share stories and ideas with each other. One of my greatest fears is that I do fear that in the future, perhaps societies will have abandoned how we tell stories. Maybe people in the future will have abandoned how we express ourselves and why it's important to still continue to share ideas. And I think more importantly, why it's important to discuss ideas, particularly ones that may not be the same of that we value. Another reason why I wanted to do this interview was I think every now and then I like to share little bits about me and my story and journey, and I like to do it in a very just straight and honest manner. I don't really try and do any elaborate editing or to have everything staged or planned. In fact, basically, this entire interview, aside from the questions, none of it is pre planned. And so, again, I wanted to do this interview to be able to say to you and to anyone watching in the future that I think it is of paramount importance that we do continue to share ideas, we continue to share who we are, because I think that's what helps us. It's what helps build us together. It helps us understand one another. And I think that if we fail to share stories, if we fail to understand one another and who we are, I think we will have missed where we're going in the future and what kind of humanity we want to be towards each other. My greatest regret in life is accepting adequacy when I know I can be doing much better. To give you an example of this, of competition. If, for example, I had placed maybe third or fourth place, and I felt like I had given it my best shot, I would feel that overall, I feel like the award justifies my sense of feeling, my sense of effort. Now, if I had gotten first place, but I had felt that I didn't really give it my all, in some sense, I would kind of feel robbed. I would kind of feel like I had falsely won this prize when deep down inside I feel like it's not really justified. It's not really mine for the taking. And I think one of the reasons why I have this regret in life is the notion of not only self value and self worth, but also of this idea in writing of critical understanding how other people think of you, sort of the lens in which other people perceive you. I'm very much fascinated by that, the notion of an understanding of how other people perceive you, because we always can have this image and thought process of who we are and how we present ourselves to the world. But then there's also that layer of, well, how does the world and how does the people, how do they see you? And so for me, I think there needs to be a balance in life. And when it comes to regret in life, I think it's really important that we realize that, in the present, in the moment, we give everything that we possibly can and we strive towards that. And a competition enables you to, I think, really sort of heighten that sense of effort and accomplishment and to strive towards that goal. But if that balance of effort and result isn't achieved, I think there can be sort of a disconnect between that sense of fulfillment and that desire towards that goal. So that is my greatest regret in life. I'm not so sure where this notion of being happy all the time in life has come about. Perhaps it's the 21st century with technology and our ever scaling pace and self worth and drive. But I think that this notion of always trying to be happy in life, I think it does bring a great wealth of issues and problems that many of them are not being addressed today. And that's something I would like to quickly talk about. First off, this notion of being happy or striving towards being happy in life as the sort of conclusion or this is the goal that I want to be with my life, I think that's incorrect. I think that's actually missing the point of life. I think a better answer towards that question, what it is that you're striving towards in life, is fulfillment. Because by putting your mindset in the notion and direction of being fulfilled, you do allow the capacity to strive being happy. But you also have the capacity to do and experience a whole lot of other things. I mean, it is great to be happy, and explaining what exactly it means to be happy is a whole nother topic. But this notion that somehow if you're not happy, that there's something wrong with you, or that you haven't found that place in life, I think that can be a very risky and dangerous spot. Because, well, for example, try being happy for an entire day. I mean, there's many things that we don't like doing, tasks, chores, but that's just part of life. And it's what helps maintain, I think, a sense of purpose and drive and balance to life. Now, they're not necessarily things that make someone happy, but they're necessary. And I think that's another component too in life is why is it that we want to be happy? I mean, on a much more deeper level, I think there's that sense that we want to feel like we belong to someone or to something. But also, there's many things, like I mentioned, that are necessary in life and necessary for growth and understanding that you can't really go through that being happy. You have to kind of go through the process. You kind of have to sort of build yourself up from the ground up, and in order to do that. So I think this notion of being happy all the time is just, it's misleading. I think life's greatest lesson is the balance between beauty and suffering. And what I mean by that is, I think that in order to understand and appreciate life to the fullest extent, I think there needs to be some sort of understanding about what exactly is going on in life. And I think one of the most fundamental elements in life that hopefully we all experience is this sense of beauty, of nature, of humanity, our ability to create and express our wisdom and our insight into other human beings. And I think also the tragic element of death, the sense of suffering, the notion that while there is a lot of beauty and much to appreciate in life, there's also a lot of terrible things. And some of it we can control, but honestly, a lot of it, it's just not in our hands. It's in nature's hands, it's perhaps in a divine being's hands. You can also have that discussion about free will, but that's for another topic. But I think that one of the greatest lessons in life is understanding that there is a great beauty to be discovered, whether that's in art, whether that's in poetry, whether that's in movies. I think that understanding how we communicate with one another lends itself into a great insight into that. But also, on the flip side, there's also that element of death, of tragedy, and we need to make sure that we have a balanced view and sense of both of those elements, I think personally, in order to live out our lives in the most balanced sense that we can. I also think that there is a beauty in death. I mean, it's the same reason why many artists they express themselves in a manner that represents death or evokes a sense of the end of life. There is something mysterious about life and death, yes, but there is also this that mystery itself lends an expressive quality. And likewise, I think that there is this sort of death and life quality and nature to beauty. You just think about the nature of life, you think about how it begins in death and silence, and there is that life, there is color. We go through this life journeying so much to be explored and experiencing so much. And then there's death. And I think that there is that sort of cyclic process that life presents itself, that we can kind of gain a little bit of insight into who we are as humans. And so I do think that there needs to be a balance between life and death, between beauty and ugliness too. Because without one of those components, not only would it be an unbalanced view of life and understanding, but perhaps we might not even realize what is beauty without really realizing what is ugliness. We wouldn't really appreciate life if we also didn't understand the notion that there is death. So I would probably say that there is much to be admired and there's so much to enjoy in life, But there's also, I think, time to reflect and time to examine that, because I think it draws us into who we are. It kind of connects, you could say, the soul of humanity. We kind of get clued in closer into really understanding the depths and the chasms of who we are as a humanity. Yes, that is perhaps the only question that I didn't really want to respond to. But, well, I don't really know where to begin other than to say this. I have, from the very beginning, decided personally not to share strictly political views and my opinions for the sake of being political or just for the sake of sharing. I've always felt that my space, my lane and path in helping influence the world has always been to share content, share the music of mine, share my creative ideas and content with you in a manner that not only is not political, but hopes to become a vehicle of understanding and empathy and personal relatability. I hope that that can showcase that human beings, whether they are similar or different to one another, can still function and can still accept one another. That's what I hope to do with my content at a much deeper level. I really don't think that the solution to a lot of the issues and problems that we are facing in 2020 can just be strictly solved by just being political or just saying this is a bill or this is a person that I am voting for or choosing, that this is somehow the answer to the problem. I think that we need to be looking at a lot of these issues in a in a variety of ways and perspectives, because the issues that we are facing are not necessarily simple. And the issues did not just come about right now in 2020. I think that perhaps this year has been, if anything, it's kind of been just a lids off kind of a year where everything is on the table, everything has been presented. You basically know a lot of what has been going on, and we are presented with that, and it's difficult. I'm not going to lie, it's tough. I think that there's a lot of people suffering unnecessarily, and I think that there's a lot of unrest, and I think that that can lead to further consequences. So for me personally, I have never wanted again to share my views politically just for the sake of saying, oh, this is what I support. I've always thought that it is best for me to continue sharing my story in life and to continue sharing my music and my content, again, in a manner and vehicle that can help foster empathy and understanding and awareness without it being, without me sort of projecting and saying, oh, this is the way things need to be, or oh, this is what I think is beautiful in music. I think that one of the great things that music shows is that many people can listen and come to different conclusions about it. Many people can like different musicians and whatnot and composers, and I think that's a great thing. And I think that if anything, that needs to be encouraged and supported more. So, and I think that that notion that you can still have different views on, let's say, music, but in the end, everyone can enjoy music. Everyone can hopefully at least sit down and appreciate the music that they want to be presented, that they want their voice and story to be heard in their music. I think it's a great message, it's a great reflection of humanity, and it's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate with music. And so again, going back to the question, if I were to describe this year, it would probably be that, again, the lid has been capped off entirely, and there's no restraint at this point. So I think it's a question moving forward as to where exactly we're going to go and what's going to happen in the future. And I just hope that people have the capacity to to realize that there might be more than one path in the future with everything going on. I think the future will be a very exciting and unpredictable time and place. I think that it'll also be potentially very dangerous and might be a whole lot different than what we see today, but who knows? And that I think is the notion of what I think the future will look like. Honestly, who knows? I think there's a lot of really interesting things that are on the cusp of perhaps being more pronounced in society. If we just look and examine at the technological boom that has been happening in the past perhaps 2 decades, ever since the advent and rise of the internet, the use of the iPhone, and just the predominant functionality of technology overall that it has, not only in public life and sector, but also in private life and family. I think that in terms of what might be potentially exciting about the future, well, who knows what might happen with space? I'm very much looking forward and curious to what else we discover in our galaxy and just how far we can go in terms of where we can go in space. I think another exciting thing too is what can we discover about our mind? What can we continue to understand about the human psyche and understanding ourselves and humanity? I think that's going to be really interesting too. I say that the future could potentially be very dangerous and out of our control because I also think on the flip side there's that technological element. I think while technology certainly has helped with the efficiency and functionality of many things that we do in our lives, I think there is a flip side to that, and that is technology could get to a point where it actually substitutes who we are. Technology could substitute expression. It could substitute what does it mean to be a human. It could replace other human beings, as we've already seen. And so I think that there needs to be a sense of caution with technology, just I think as a good measure, no matter what happens, because I think it's always important to understand who we are before we try and go after who it is that we want to be. Yes, I do. I do believe that music can change the world. Music has changed my life. I do believe that music is one of the only good things remaining left in this world. I think music does also enable us to come together in a sense. Music is sort of the vehicle and way that other human beings that might be different than one another can actually come together as one to not only appreciate and to enjoy the music that's being presented, but it showcases that human beings can come together and enjoy something, and to that unification, that sense that our differences might exist and permeate and be prevalent and there, but that through music, for that brief amount of time whenever we experience it together, that we are together in a sense, and we are enjoying and experiencing a feeling, a sense, someone else's story in life, and we're able to understand and appreciate that. And I think that's kind of the notion, is music enables us to understand who we are, and that I think is perhaps the most important lesson that music can give and offer, is that at the end of the day, at the end of this life, music is a beautiful and mysterious gift, and it's precious, it's something valuable, and if we stop to recognize that, I think we actually stop to understand who we are. When we stop listening to music, when we no longer find its value in some metaphysical sense, we are also saying that we don't value other human beings. We don't care. It's not important. And so I do believe that music can change the world. And I look forward to that day when on every street in every city, instead of hearing the sounds of cars honking or the sound of too many people on the streets. I hope that it's music instead, and I hope that it's music in every language and from every culture. And I think that ties back to one of my dreams and goals in life is the notion that if we can just share music more, in some sense, we're actually sharing who we are as a humanity. So that's my dream, and I do still believe that music can change the world. And I can't wait for that dream to become a reality one day.